This is working. Has not let me. No. Nope. Thinks it's pre-live still. Hmm. Hmm. It's not up now, or it is up now? And now does it have me? There's 0 people here. Okay, are you seeing 0 people? Okay, TTYL. Okay, bye. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for hanging out while we, worked through some technical difficulties. Here we are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So I know that today's topic is a little bit niche, but for those of us who care about scholarship fundraising, this is a super important topic. And for sure, for anyone in higher ed, this is table stakes at this point. So the topic, let me grab my screen and hopefully that's not going to cause any technical difficulties. So what we're talking about is fundraising, scholarship fundraising, and AI. And what we've learned in the past year is that AI gives us an opportunity to break what's already broken. And don't worry that my presentation is going to pop up in just a second, just to make sure that you're in the right place. Okay, for those of you who are here, thank you for hanging out. Here we are. We're doing the thing. So this is a topic that keeps coming up. And oftentimes it's presented to me as, what should I do with our donors who don't believe in AI or don't like AI, who are getting thank you letters from their students and they can tell it was written using ChatGPT. And to me, I know that the answers that I'm going to give to this aren't things that people want to hear, really, because it involves a lot of work. The AI revolution is causing a lot of work for all of us, and that is just the way that the world now works. So I'm going to share some solutions with you. Some of them feel free to throw out the window because it might not apply to your organization. But for most of us who do scholarship fundraising, there's a lot here that's going to resonate, I suspect. So before I go all in, you feel free to point your camera at this QR code. That is where I keep all of our resources. So after I record my talks, the deck, the talk, and any other resources go into one of these tabs here. And you'll be able to access any topic that I've talked about, plus additional resources, plus upcoming events. So go ahead and take a picture of that, and Donnie will drop the QR code in the chat. Cool? Good. All right. For those of you who are just joining, hi. Thanks for bearing with. We had a couple technical difficulties, but now we are cruising right along. For those of you who've never been to one of my sessions, I just want to make sure that you know that I'm not just some random lady on the internet. My name is Ann Murphy. I'm the CEO and founder of Empowered Fundraiser Consulting, Coaching, and Responsible AI. And my partner, my business partner, and my life partner, Don Weckerly, is with us in the chat. He can help answer questions. He's going to be dropping links as we go. Um, and, we both have been living in this AI world for a little while. I went like all in January of 2023. And since then, I've been able to train 2,200 fundraisers on generative AI and counting. We train lots of fundraisers every week, and I am so proud of the work that we've done. And it's just been so amazing to see the magical unlocks that fundraisers are getting, like whether you're a grant writer or corporate and foundation or major gift, annual giving. It is just pretty phenomenal what you can do when you take your subject matter expertise and you layer in AI. It's like superhero level. I've got, credentials. Um, I'm on the advisory board of the frame of Fundraising AI, which is an organization that launched the framework for responsible AI in fundraising, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I hang out with AI operations leaders like all day, every day. I have a couple of different communities of practice, and probably like everybody here, I learn more from my peers than I learn from pretty much anyone else. So I've been fortunate to work with some really great people. I've done tech rollouts and change stewardship. We are an AI first company, so even though there's only 3 of us who work full time, um, we punch so far above our weight. We kind of do the work of about 10 people, which is pretty amazing. And then I launched the She Leads AI initiative, which is lifting up women who are leaders in the AI space. So that's what I have going on in the AI world. Not just some random lady on the internet. Oh, and in the corner there, you'll see another QR code. It says responsible AI without some of the vowels. That is a link to a deck of our AI consulting and upskilling offerings. So feel free to point your camera at that, and that'll take you to what we do and what we offer. All right, so today, in the realm of AI and scholarship fundraising, we're going to talk about 4 things: governance, working with recipients, donor communication, and storytelling. And you're going to hear me say a number of times, we can break what's already broken, because those of us who are in this space know that there are like some challenges with, particularly with like gift administration, scholarship administration, stewardship, gift agreements and what they say. What?
Close enough to program. It's lagging.
I have everything closed.
Okay, so
Sorry, my computer whisperer came and told me that I'm lagging, but I don't know what to do about that. I have all my tabs closed. I hope it's not lagging too bad. Well, the show must go on. Okay. So first we're going to talk about AI governance. So AI governance is, I'll show you this. Here's a list of what that encompasses: privacy and security, all the things that we're worried about, right? Privacy and security, data ethics, inclusiveness, adaptability, accountability, transparency, and explainability. Explainability is really, really important in this space. Continuous learning, collaboration, legal compliance, social impact, and sustainability. So for most of us, when we think about what we're worried about with AI, it falls somewhere under these 10 pillars. And this is actually the framework toward responsible AI in fundraising. So you can go to fundraising.ai and you can review this framework and start thinking about how it applies to the work that you're doing with scholarships. So that's what AI governance is, right? Like, how are we using these tools in a way that's ethical and responsible and that builds stakeholder trust not erodes stakeholder trust. So here's the challenge in higher ed fundraising, particularly. Our colleagues over on the academic side are, are hard at work trying to figure out the impact of AI on academic units. Like, how are we teaching? How are we doing assignments? How are we testing? Right? Like, what AI tools are we using in our administration? But and that's like not an easy topic at all. It's very difficult. It's very demanding because no matter what we do, it involves changing the way we do things completely. Like, remember how we all pivoted during the pandemic and like we knew about our faculty who were out there like changing their whole course over to remote learning? Totally different situation. This is like that, but times a million because it's at the core of how education has always worked. It's changing, and we can't teach the way we used to. So they're in a quandary. But the work that we do in the administrative units, like uh, admissions and finance and our foundations, is very different. We're not applying AI for teaching or testing, right? Academic advancement. We're applying AI for business operations. And so it's really, really different. But one of the things that happens is as our faculty struggle to figure out, what do they want to do with AI policies? How do they want to integrate it? We have some faculty experts who are out there talking about it. And like, some people want things to slow down, some people want things to speed up. But no matter what, I mean, confusion has a chilling effect on adoption. So when our faculty are outspoken about, we're not ready, we don't know, we're not sure what to do, we should wait until we learn more, that has a chilling effect on our ability in the administrative units like advancement to adopt AI. And so we have to keep in mind that we're in an environment in higher ed that's very, very volatile with AI, but that does not mean that we should not move toward adoption. Think about ourselves in this context like we're in business, like we're in industry. We're very much more aligned with how they will be integrating AI than we are with how academics will be integrating AI. Cool? Does that make sense? And everybody, now that we're like rocking and rolling, thank goodness. Let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from and what your role is. That'll help me customize this a little bit. So, where are you tuning in from, and what is your role? And like, do you have any specific questions about scholarships and AI? Because I can be sure to get to those. All right. So, with regard to governance and like all these things, this is our opportunity to break what's already broken. So let me give you an example. The other day I was coaching at a conference, and we were talking about data security and AI and how we always have to think about, are we putting information into the models that it's going to get trained on later? Are we putting confidential information into the models? But during that conversation, I was asked, does this mean that we shouldn't be emailing attachments with confidential donor information? And I was like, had a light bulb moment about, okay, as we transition our business operations to include, intelligent AI automations, for example, it's going to give us the stop and think moment some of us have needed for a really, really long time. Like, what are our processes? What's making us email confidential information? What's leading to that? Probably it's cultural. Probably we've been doing it for a really long time. It seems to be working for everybody. And maybe you've had somebody tell you that they don't want to have to click a link. But here we are now, and we're going to be saying, not only, would it sent, to a few people, let's say if you forwarded a piece of confidential information to a colleague and they accidentally forwarded it to the wrong listserv or something like that. This is different because it would go out into the whole entire, it would be available to anyone who logged into an LLM if it were to get trained on that information. So now we get to go like, okay, we've been doing things in a scary way for a while. We're not going to do it that way anymore because we're doing a total overhaul. So break what's already broken when it comes to governance. The next piece of governance is to embrace that this process of integrating, like I said, even just like one obvious business operational change, it's not about just like waving a magic wand. It's about training. It's about culture, right? It's about like, what are the dean's expectations of us? Do they expect attachments or do they expect total data security, right? There's training and conversation and socializing. We're working with our board. We're addressing people's resistance to change, right? Like an intentional change management process is required. It's not going to be easy. And that's why I said, you may not love all the things that I have to say today because this part is going to be, it's going to be difficult. There's just no way around it. All right. Working with recipients. So, big picture, scholarship fundraising, one of the most important things is how we relate to our recipients. Okay. So, how we as the fundraising unit relate to our recipients. And mostly we rely on the connector of our academic partners. Maybe it's, the scholarship committee or an associate dean for student success. We're working closely with those folks most of the time, but we do engage our recipients sometimes in our donor relations. So here's what's really important. And here's the opportunity that we have in front of us is like sometimes we recognize that because we are interacting with scholarship recipients, it gives us a special lens into their student experience. This is an opportunity for us to be very, very clear about expectations around AI. And by the way, the expectation cannot be don't use AI. Like, if there's any chance that any of us or our colleagues are thinking that we will tell scholarship recipients that they can't use AI on their thank you notes, for example, or on their scholarship applications, I want to debunk that idea because it's never going to happen. They're never going back. They are using AI. And in fact, our job is to help our students integrate AI into the work that they do because that's the real world now. So, and that's what our academic partners are ultimately going to be doing, right? They are trying to figure out how to integrate AI into the pedagogy of higher education. They're not trying to say you can't use it because they know that doesn't work. Usually it's, somebody could say don't use it, and there may be a couple of examples of when that makes sense. It can be use it with attribution or just, free for all. Go ahead and use, hey, Greg, go ahead and use AI as needed. So it's really important to recognize that we are not going to be able to say to our students, don't use AI. It's just not going to happen. So what we do need to do is be clear about our expectations. And one of the things that I really love about this is that being clear with our students about our expectations requires us to be clear about our role. Like, what is our role in supporting students who are beneficiaries of philanthropy? And I would argue that given where we are right now with the AI revolution and how higher ed is adopting it, this is an opportunity for us to add more value to our scholarship recipients' lives. Like, the scholarship committee will not know how well all of our students have been trained to use AI. It's an opportunity for our colleagues to offer training, because think about this. Again, break what's already broken. We now know that a lot of our students have not had a lot of experience with writing thank you notes or even expressing, like effusing gratitude. They may be comfortable and familiar with talking about like impact, right? Like that's not as laden with power imbalances, but this notion of like effusing gratitude to a donor, it's not all of our students who want to do that anymore. And in fact, writing thank you notes is something that is really not applicable to all of our students and the background that they come from. But we're saying to them, hey, here's what we do in our culture. Here's what we do in philanthropy. So students are like, okay, we'll write thank you notes. Well, this is an opportunity for us to train people on how to write thank you notes, but more importantly, train them how to use AI in that process. So I'm recommending that we offer specific trainings for students who have received scholarships. Between the time that we, notify them that they've received a scholarship and when it becomes time for that, we offer training to them for how to use AI in that process. That way, we know that they've been given the well. What an awesome opportunity. Again, particularly because thank you notes are not part of every culture. The donors who expect thank you notes are actually kind of aging out, but we still have a lot of them who do expect something from their students. So helping our students rise to that occasion is really important. And then ongoing support. So it's more than just training them once. It's maybe, a better I think some of our foundations actually read student letters and like send them back for edits if they need to. I worked with one organization that actually made edits to the students' thank you notes. So this is an opportunity for us to be in communication with our students. Now, please know, I wasn't born yesterday. I know that this would be a big ask for our academic colleagues. If they are not set up to do a training, not set up to do, to provide support, that's going to be a challenge. And I totally get that. But I do think there are workarounds, that we could do on demand videos. We could have an AI champion in the student among the benefit get at this, and we're going to be super creative in this era with AI. So this is just an example of when what we've always done and what's been successful isn't going to get us where we need to go. All right. So again, I full disclosure, I wasn't born yesterday. I know that this is going to be asking a lot of our academic colleagues. And if anyone has any questions, please do drop them in the chat. And if you're like, ugh, this sounds totally unrealistic, drop that in the chat too. I just, I do not like getting advice from consultants and coaches that it's like completely pie in the sky, unrealistic. It's always irked me. And this kind of bumps up against my instinct of like, okay, this is unrealistic. But at this point in our like history, we're going to have to do a lot of things differently, and it's going to take some work. We're going to have to recreate systems. And like I said, the good news is a lot of these systems were already broken. Okay. I feel like I want to, do I have yeah, I feel like I want to tell people this. Um, we users, we fundraisers and higher ed leaders, we don't put confidential information into ChatGPT. So regardless of whether it's about a student or about a donor or about a program, about ourselves, currently No confidential information to ChatGPT. Even if you've clicked the button that says, do not train future models on this data, even if they come out and say, hey, guess what? It's totally confidential. I like to sleep at night. So I'm encouraging you until further notice to not put confidential information into ChatGPT. All right, let's talk about donor expectations, especially since one of the things that's going to keep coming up is donors who aren't using AI and who have, all of the fears around AI that people do, which I totally get it. Like empathy, empathy, empathy. I understand that lots of our donors will be feeling uncomfortable when they get a thank you letter that seems like it was written with or by some large language model. All right, so we have to embrace that's going to happen. We are going to get those phone calls, we are going to get those emails. So, how do we want to address this? How do we want to get out in front of it? Because I do believe that getting out in front of it is the best way to go. We do not want to surprise anybody with this. So, the first thing that we need to do is communicate our policies. And this is one of the tenets of AI governance and building stakeholder trust within a framework is to be transparent, to be communicative, and to be able to explain to any stakeholder how we are using AI. Like, what are the guardrails? And keep in mind what I already said, the policy that we have cannot be we don't allow our students to use AI for their thank you letters. Like, can't be that because that's not reality. So what we do need to do is talk about what guidance we've given to our students, what our expectations are, and that begins, getting our donors on board with here's how things work now. Like, here's what higher education is like now. I am going to guess that somewhere around the country, somewhere around the world, a few donors are going to say, if my student uses my student uses AI with their thank you note, they shouldn't get scholarship support. So that's something that I would encourage you to think about. If you do have a donor who comes back and says that, how are you going to handle that? If I were to apply a leadership, like a type of leadership that I would like to work for to that scenario, I would encourage you to hold the line and, rather than saying, oh, okay, we'll tell that student not to, or finding them a student who didn't use AI. I would really encourage you to not make a special deal with one donor. And I know that's hard. I know, like, we need money. We want these donors relationships. We want to make our donors happy. We're very used to doing that. But if a donor comes and objects to the way that A, we do business, and B, the way that higher ed is handling AI, that's not on us, right? We can't change our policies like that just based on one donor's feelings. I mean, maybe we can, but I'm not encouraging you to do that. So we're going to communicate our policies openly and frequently, and we're going to get out in front of it. We are going to field those questions that we know are coming. These questions are coming, right? Again, like I said, you're going to get the phone calls, you're going to get the emails. Donors are going to be asking about this. And what I can encourage you is what we have to apply in all areas of AI, which is just an extraordinary amount of empathy. Our donors are scared, right? They're scared about data breaches. They're scared about bias, about the robots taking over. What else? Oh, plagiarism, legalities, copyrights. What else? it can be very frightening. They may even feel like their own self-identity is under attack when it comes to AI. And that's what I see in a lot of different fields, is that we've got people who, made their livelihood and self-identify in a particular realm, for example, writing, that now AI is becoming like superior at. Mild sidebar, but for those of you on the call, I want you to think about writing as you're creating excellent writing. Your goal with writing is not just to write a beautiful letter or a beautiful proposal or a beautiful white paper. Your goal with writing is to be a good communicator, particularly with something like a thank you note, right? Do you want it to sound lovely? Absolutely. Right? Do you want, your scholarship application to be a banger? Absolutely. But your goal is not to, show up and white knuckle it through being, writing an excellent scholarship application or an excellent thank you letter. Your goal is to be a great communicator. And right now, that means working with AI. That means taking your expertise, right? Whether you're a student or a fundraiser or president of a university, an English professor, taking your expertise and partnering it with generative AI. That's how we're going to get the kind of thank you letters that inspire our donors and help them understand that their philanthropy had a fabulous impact. So, back to donor expectations. We are going to field their questions with tons and tons of empathy. What we shouldn't do, though, is say, I absolutely agree with you. This is unfortunate, right? This is an example of we as fundraisers setting aside our own personal feelings and being in alignment with our leadership team's point of view, perspective, policies. Frontline fundraisers, this is an example of we put ourselves aside for the moment, right? Because we're representatives of the university. We're representatives of the foundation. We are in alignment on that. So whether you think students should or shouldn't, it's currently a moot point. Okay. Sometimes it's going to be beneficial to bring our academic partners into the conversation. And what I would recommend due to that is that one of your next steps is to have this conversation with your scholarship committees or your Office of Student Success, your like associate deans for student success. Start having this conversation with them. Say, okay, we're going to have donors that are going to ask us questions about AI and scholarship applications. We're going to have donors who are going to ask us questions about AI and thank you notes. Can we work together on, how we're going to work with our donors if they have any concerns? Because sometimes in order for you to preserve your special relationship with donors, it's going to be helpful for you to have somebody else come in and explain it. And, your academic partners have that credibility that is required sometimes in a conversation like that, right? Donors are sometimes used to us telling them what we think they want to hear also. Um, and we're not going to be able to do that in this case. So start coming up with some game plans with your academic partners on how you're going to field these requests when they come up. Okay? How's everyone? Is this all computing? Are you feeling resistant? I wouldn't blame you if you do. All right. So now I want to talk about how we all, with the advent of generative AI, how we will handle our approach to ethical storytelling. So this is a perfect example for me of what we get to do. Tracking. Good. Thanks. Um, So one of the pitfalls of scholarship fundraising has always been that we, the marketing and communications team, the fundraisers, we are out here telling the stories of our beneficiaries. We're creating their story. We're crafting it into a written document. We're turning it into talking points for leaders. We're saying these words out of our mouths, but none of it is our story to tell. It's the student's story, right? And there's certainly a growing awareness of this, but for most advancement shops, they probably haven't gotten there yet to develop a new ethos and a policy and a process around ethical storytelling. So, one of the things that I've heard some experts share is, would you tell this exact story if the student was sitting, a table away and could hear you? You'd still be telling their story for them, but, like, total stop and think, would you say these exact words if the students could hear you? If the student could hear you? We want to move into an era of ethical storytelling where just across the board throughout our industry, that is the way we do things. And what's neat about this is, again, break what's already broken. So now, because we actually are going to be much better storytellers, and we're going to be able to do it more quickly and more consistently, we will now have space, right? We will have space to analyze some of the conventions, like the way we've always done things, and we will have time to create new policies and new processes. So for example, like to get, granular on this particular aspect of scholarship fundraising, what we're going to want to do is work with our students to develop their story, get their permission to tell their story, get their sign off on what we've drafted, or what we've drafted, or I think we do a better job with images, but certainly with our written content, let them know how it's going to be used, et cetera, et cetera. And it's more than having them check a box on their scholarship application that says, sure, you can use essentially my name, image, and likeness, and then some, my backstory. It's a way more intentional process than that. And so now what I'm recommending is that rather than kind of using AI to write better stories without our students' involvement, we use AI to write better stories, but we begin at a different, point of origination. We start with our students. We start with, interviewing them, um, uh, getting all of their nuances, drafting it, getting their approval, getting their edits, making sure that we're telling the story that they would tell about themselves and that they are completely comfortable in all the ways that we are using it. Cool, cool, cool. And think about FERPA. So one of the things that has always kind of struck me as a little scary is how often fundraisers end up with private information about our students, information that's protected by FERPA. And I want long and happy careers for all of you. Try so hard not to end up with confidential information in your inbox. If you receive a spreadsheet or, a story about a student and their scholarship, and it's, they're not doing well in school and there's stuff going on in their lives, delete it and send a note to the sender that says, please don't send private information to my email. Because keep in mind, all of our emails are open through sunshine laws, are open to investigation. So you don't want that information sitting in your inbox. Keep in mind, parents even can't get information about their children. So their college age children. about their academics. So we definitely shouldn't. So when we're using AI, be really, really careful about the data that you have. And then, of course, absolutely positively do not put any of it into the large language models. Okay. So remember, we don't put confidential information into ChatGPT under any circumstances. And if you're wondering, this is the point where I remind everybody that ChatGPT Plus is table stakes. Do not use 3.5. I mean, you can, of course. You can use 3.5 and you will get some results and it might be helpful, but it's so much less intelligent than ChatGPT 4, now ChatGPT 4 Turbo, that my fear for you is that you're going to get these like results and you're just going to move on. So my recommendation is to spend the $20 a month. And in a second, I'll tell you how you'll make that money back. Spend the $20 a month. Look at my videos that are in this thing. Look at my videos. I've got one on the core method of prompting and one on the a more structured type of prompting. If you watch those two videos and you use those techniques, you will get much, much, much better results. So do that. Get ChatGPT Plus. Learn how to prompt. You do not need to become a prompt engineer, prompt master, any of those things, but get decent at it, which happens. You will, if you spend 10 hours in these tools, you will be good at prompting. Then I want you, after you get ChatGPT 4, I want you to go and take a picture of your refrigerator, what's inside your refrigerator and inside of your pantry, and upload it into Vision because that's all on your phone. Like that's on the ChatGPT app. You'll learn about it. This will all make sense. Take a picture of the inside of your refrigerator and the inside of your pantry and say, I don't want to go to the grocery store today. What can I make for dinner with what I already have? And ChatGPT will come up with like awesome recipes for you to make your dinner. Anytime you don't go step foot in a grocery store, I figure you're saving, I don't know, at least $20. I don't know how you can get in and out of a grocery store these days for $20. That's how you're going to save a lot of money every month. But let's just say bare minimum, the $20 you spent on ChatGPT. Then the next time you have a special event or you're like, I'm so sick of my clothes, you have something you're going to and you're not sure like what the dress code is, take pictures of your closet, and they don't have to be good, like just like random picture of like most of it. Maybe you need to take 2 or 3 depending on the size of your closet. And you ask ChatGPT to, you say, I'm going to a baby shower. What should I wear? I'm going to I'm going to Napa with my girlfriends for wine tasting. Help me put together my whole wardrobe for the 3-day weekend. I'm so sick of my clothes. I'm going to lunch with the president of the university. What should I wear? ChatGPT will tell you what to wear, and it'll be like really, really good outfits that you haven't tried before. So, and you look super cute because everyone I know who does this, like ChatGPT comes up with great outfits. So that's how you're going to get your money back. So be sure to use ChatGPT 4 and let me know if you have questions about scholarship fundraising and AI. Let me know if you have any anecdotes about conversations that you've had with donors or students or your academic partners. I'm eager to hear all these use cases. So please be in touch with me. And if you haven't already, point your camera at the QR code in the corner so that you can check out the work that we do with organizations on responsible AI adoption. We do governance, upskilling, and bespoke AI automations to make your lives easier. Okay. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for coming. And if you were hanging around at the very beginning of the hour, thank you for sticking with me. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.